Hello, fam. Hope this is loud enough. Should be. Mr. Zoom would hopefully tell me if not. I'm gonna try something different here. Not share my screen. Don't need to because this needs to be anonymous. But we have some mailbag submissions. It's probably time to bring it back. It's getting towards the middle of the year now. Getting near the trade deadline. It just feels like the right time. And let's see if I tilt like that, what it would look like. See what the fan. Nope. See, doesn't really like it with the mobile device. So people have to live with the black, like the sides with the distorted view, banners, or well, I don't know what they're called, what have you. We'll get with the production crew and see what they have to say. But yeah, so these mailbag submissions, they kind of, I was intrigued because one, I was trying to think of my answers and crafting it, and want to see how I would respond with my answers. But then I had another one come in today that I was like, okay, I can kind of tie this in together and make a nice little video and keep it as short and sweet as possible. But it's definitely interesting that I can combine them. So I'm very excited for that. Um, so the first one came in near the end of last week, and I've been pondering on it, and says trades are down this year. Are your sons procreating too much instead of devoting their lives to sweet, sweet fantasy football? I'm concerned for league health. Side note, Big Joe needs a spanking. Love you. And, I think so. I think maybe a little bit too focused on procreating, but certainly, it's certainly welcomed. I've wanted to be a grandpa, and I'm glad I am a grandpa. So I love that side of it. But maybe perhaps it does take a little bit of concentration off of fantasy football. And even, while I'll say this, Mr. Mick knows this is true. At our Lyft ride over to the stadium a few weeks back, our Uber driver said that is why I believe it was Gunnar Henderson. Besides swinging for the fences, he has a new girlfriend of his, as the Lyft driver said, and that he's been a little too busy. And maybe there's something to it. And if it was Gunnar Henderson, I'm sure I'll be corrected later. But I believe that was the player choice that we were talking about at the moment we got before he got on a tirade about Mr. Hyde, which I completely support. I don't know, how he's still the manager, but nonetheless, that's a whole other conversation. But maybe there is something to it where, that part of the procreating and getting a little too busy does take the focus off of fantasy football and otherwise. I think so. I think maybe we need some more trades as we get closer to the deadline. And I think we will see that because, and how this ties into the next submission, mailbag submission. What is one move each team needs to make to improve their playoff chances? Um, and that's where I didn't even look yet at the team's rosters yet to really catch myself. That's what I'm going to do right now. And I'm not sharing the screen. Just don't feel like it. So I'm going from the bottom up because it's more critical that those teams that are not in a playoff position to probably do something more so than a team that is in playoff position. Not that it's not important to do it if you are in playoff position, but I just think it's more critical if you're not there to do something to get you into contention or into the mix. And Mr. Ford, definitely contact me, please. Definitely slide in my DMs before the trade deadline. There's something we got to discuss. And definitely want to be there for you because I've been there and want to make sure you're prepared for this moment. Yeah. I'm not even going to say what it is. I think I've said enough about the action, and let's just hope it gets done. Now, next is on the standings. To get back to it, Mr. Ross. What would I do? Oh, I love the McMillan pickup. That's sweet. How much did he spend on him? Six. Oh, excellent. Best $6 you could have spent. No, I would have said get a wideout. As far I would say for us, in my opinion, now you're in good shape. Look for depth at wide receiver or quarterback, and just get somebody, because if you get McCaffrey back, great. If not, at least you have some security there. That would be my recommendation. So sort of two-part, but that would be my action or recommendation. Mr. Ailey. And I still can't believe he's down that far, but the points for are still going to be in good shape at the end of the year. So I'm not too worried about this team that I was an investor in, but not in an official public company capacity because, again, not publicly traded. My recommendation for this team would be keep your people and ride it out. Less is more in this case. That would be my recommendation. Next, we have, we did Joe, Oss, Ailey, and Mr. Slam. Mr. Slam, what would be my recommendation here? Oh, there's some neighborhood watch. I'm on it. They're being squirrely over there. It's too cold for that kind of behavior. What do we have here? I would say love the tight ends. That's turned out to be really good. Uh, Quarterback. You got to get another quarterback because this is not going to get you to where you want to be. You got to get somebody else that you can realistically plug in as a QB2 and not just a filler. Like if you had Williams or Flacco as your three, I could see it, but I would think there needs to be an upgrade there to make a push for the playoffs. Next, got Mr. Josh. Yeah, check in with Josh, see how he's doing. Last I saw that the Bo Nix thing, I was just like, oh my goodness, it's too early for this. He's only a rookie. And how that got sent at that moment, at that time, just I needed to still wrap my head around that. Um, I like these wideouts. Tight ends are coming along too. The running backs, but then it drops off. Just get bench depth in general. It doesn't matter what position, just get bench depth so that way you're covered. And it doesn't matter because you're not somebody here is probably going to go down to an injury. And if they don't, you're going to have to play matchups at some point because I'm not sure if you want Johnson in there in the flex at all times. Not that that's bad, but you could have opportunity to upgrade later. So just keep building the depth. That's will be my suggestion for Joshy's roster. Mr. Kerner. What's Mr. Rob? What are we recommending for him? Find a contingency plan for Kamara, and I'll tell you why. Reports are coming out that he's been playing with a broken hand. Whether that is or isn't true, where there's smoke, there's fire. So, with that being said, I'm not sure how much longer he can keep up, and also, whether it's Rattler or anybody else or Carr goes back, something's slightly broken in that offense. They can't keep feeding Kamara at this rate. And I think he's overachieving, not because of his ability, just the situation. And I think eventually teams are going to figure them out and make them try and be more one-dimensional. And while it might be happening in wins and losses and points scored and scored against in real life, I think it will impact fantasy eventually too. So find a contingency plan for Mr. Kamara would be my recommendation. Train. Now we're getting to the top four. Very, very juicy. Man, this might be the best team Train's ever had. My recommendation would be sell Mr. Harris because he's not worth the pot he's pissing in. I mean, that little charade he had on the sideline with flexing on the sideline, it's like, dude, you're playing a team that's beat up. You're playing a 40-year-old quarterback. I understand the 40-year-old's not on the defensive side, and you want to pump up the crowd and all that, but you're slow as molasses and you're finally coming into form. It took you how many years to do it? Are you really that good? I don't think so. I'm not buying it. I would sell him high. That would be my recommendation for Mr. Train. And maybe I'm a little salty because he burned me, Mr. Harris, that is. But I don't know. I would sell him high before the deadline passes. Now we're getting into Mr. Mick. Let's see. I like this lineup. This team is pretty much where I thought they would be from the start. My recommendation, because you have find a reliable backup quarterback, because I don't think Tua is it. He may not. Who knows? He's had so many concussions, and yeah, he might be okay, but he seems to always be prone to head injuries, and it's a serious thing. But I would say if it was my team, that's what I would recommend in my situation. My recommendation here is get a QB3 you can rely on, because this roster is too good to miss out on an opportunity where you don't have somebody else to fill in if one of your two matchups aren't good that week, or if just two is not available and you want to start somebody else. So that's my call. That's my recommendation there. And now we're getting to the top two, Mr. Chris. What would be my recommendation? Um, oof. Um, with this roster, Mr. Chris, my recommendation, I like I like the kicker, Mr. Koo's goat. Um, Try to position yourself to get a defense, or even potentially a couple defenses, like to have a start one and then swap one that's going to set you up for the playoffs and be and that's predicted to have a favorable matchup. Then that's what I would do, because this team is very good to where you're pretty much going to the playoffs. So I would align yourself to that. Besides bye weeks and everything, I'm taking that all is all created equal, because that should always be a focus for a team that is on the up and up in the playoffs or playoff bound. Get yourself right so that way you can get as many points for even the defensive position. I know it's not that popular, but if you get yourself in the best position to have a favorable matchup, it's extra bonus points that you can get to where if one of your offensive players don't do that well, you're covered. That's my recommendation. And last, but certainly not least, Kamish. What did I say? You never count Kamish out, ever. He's number one in the standings right now, according to Axe app. So, my recommendation for Kamish's squad, you know, there's nobody I would pick up at the moment. Uh, Less is more in this case. Keep sticking to the plan, and not saying not make a move. Just stick to your plan. I remember a few weeks ago in the group you asked, has anybody picked up on why I'm always competitive? And, I wish I had implemented this strategy of what I think Kamish is talking about. And I was too impatient at times. But I was competitive and not competitive. I always gave it my best, gave it my best effort. Was certainly not that competitive unless it went to the losers bracket. But I wished I had implemented the strategy, and he does it well. So my recommendation is to stick with that plan. So, with that being said, that's all I have, and I'm going to release. This is just before kickoff when I'm filming this. Had a few minutes after getting off shift here, so figured why not talk to the fam. And I think I'll probably release this during halftime. That way, there's a better halftime show than whatever they're going to show out there in California. So, oh yeah, and I haven't done this in a while. This is going to be a secret word, and I'm hoping that um, those who stick around for this long, definitely repeat it back to me in my DMs. And if they and don't please don't do it in the group, because I want to see who is sticking around to the end. And the word will be Mr. Atwell. So it's really two words, but kind of all in one. But Mr. Atwell. When I think of the Rams, I think of him. So I'm asking anybody to please message me, Mr. Atwell, to know that they've been watching to the end. And if they do, I think there's something good in store. So with all that being said, enjoy the game tonight, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.